and welcome back. We're picking up where we left off, well, roughly where we left off last time in Victoria 3. As I said, with the end of the last recording, well, recording before last, but depending on how things go, the next recording might have been a blooper, and the recording between the last non-blooper one and this one did in fact end up becoming a blooper because of interruptions. So we're going to pick up roughly where we left off last time in Victoria 3 as the Great Qing. If you notice, the end date on the previous episode was the 4th, because we had to roll back because of the blooper. I forgot to save as soon as we ended the previous part, so I had to roll back to an auto save. So we're technically starting 3 days earlier than we would have otherwise. But I think that's the only real change since the last bit of the last episode. Hire up some generals here. Fine. Oh, we're getting really interesting choices here. Interesting is not necessarily a good in the situation, but interesting. There we go, that was what I was looking for, which was Armed Forces General. So we're trying to pass public schools. This is one way to fix a lot of our literacy problems. We did just recently fix the deficit, so we can go ahead and unpause. So now we're just sort of building. And of course, one of those probably dies. Because, why would we have any generals live for more than 5 weeks? I don't think we want a protectionist. Boys and girls, I think we probably had, well, we may have had a slightly different version of this event before. We'll just take the longer active time. Yeah, we'll just power this modern guy then. So, the short plan right now is we are slowly paying down the deficit, or paying down the debt. Probably trying to keep the net balance here around 100 until we get on this a bit. Mostly building good old cheap buildings that we have sufficient demand for, so we can continue to build them pretty much ad infinitum as the Great Qing here. So wood, we've got a big abundance of. Fish we had. Well, we have an abundant demand of fish, is maybe a good way to think about the fish. I think our fish that is still left to be built is in places where we don't have workers. So at some point we'll probably just subsidize the industries out there and try to lure workers that way into those areas. But for the moment, I think we're fine. Okay, we are starting to see that our net deficit is in decline, which is what we want to see. Yeah, the revenue increase is going up. So what we'll want to do in relation to that is probably start to build more construction industry and or more government administration. Thinking about it, actually, we're going to probably do government administration because we do have trying to get public school and going. What is the expected cost on the... It's about 1,000 each. Okay, so we can get like 33 of these. See how that works. Not necessarily working to get public school done particularly fast. Once our sort of debt to credit limit is like below 50%, we'll start poking and trying to expand again into the neighboring regions. there's crystal glass. Assuming we have the lead, and even if we don't have the lead, it might just be worth swapping to. Yeah, probably worth swapping to, and then letting the industrial demand encourage more lead production. Y9. I suspect... Yeah, well, that was somewhat expected. Most of the easy states we could have colonized with Y9 have fallen, unless we were to go take Zanzibar. But we don't really have the naval resources for that. Stop moving. Okay, so this person, no reason to stop him coming. Yeah, no reason to stop him coming. Freedom to starve. Probably getting a... We're getting a famine event. Some regions that have famine issues. Mild starvation in 12% of our land. It's mostly out in the Tarzan Basin and some of the areas we've taken over. Something we'll probably be a little bit more proactive with dealing with once we've got mutual funds and can swap over to commercial agriculture. What I was trying to do is click on that so I can see my strength of my political parties. So I'd like to increase the power of the armed forces, but that requires recruiting generals of the appropriate type. Gift among friends. Sure. Get another guy that way. A little bit disappointing he's a Republican, but the military is usually decently friendly. There we go. Now if I'm going to get the military up to 5 opinion. Okay, so now we've got the bureaucracy to support the public schooling when it completes. In theory, got a little bit more tax revenue from a couple places. Because that's improving the taxation capacity, so we're just losing out on less of the taxes. Yep, we can see that the GDP is growing, which is the plan. We're up to 150 million-ish GDP. Exposed. What is these guys' opinion on healthcare? Oppose public healthcare, neutral and charity hospitals, endorse what we're currently on, so they're not going to be helping us with changing anything. Unless we want to go private, which I don't really think is the way we want to go. We can see, because there's no opposition to public schooling, that it is slowly spooling up to go faster and faster and faster. There we go. Postal savings. That's going to give us more contribution efficiency on our shopkeeps. $13 years. How much more expensive is this because we haven't... It's basically triple the normal cost because we haven't researched any of the previous stuff. Could grab corporations. Don't think the corporations are super important. Assuming we lost the dielectrics journal entry, yeah. Let's go ahead and pick up the better... university department. And maybe we'll, next time we get some positive balance here, we'll build up the university department. Makes sense. Yeah, let's try to raise the tax revenue a bit. Something like this. A little bit more taxes by running clothes as a tax. Clothes is something we might move on to building in mass after we run out of lumber camps. Okay, this is a interesting war. Russians, the French, and the Austrians against the Prussians and the British. Sounds like you can't ask for, like, liberate subject and liberate something off of the British, right? Oh no, I'd be on the side of the British, right? So I have to decide with against Austria and France. So probably just gonna set aside this one. The other side is willing to give me something. We'd probably jump on the other side. So we got the financial districts hopefully accelerating construction a little bit more, so they are growing bigger and bigger and bigger. Though at this point, most of the investment pool is actually coming from government-owned buildings. While we're waiting for nationalization. That's probably one of the reasons we're not getting a lot of civilian construction here. It's just so much nationalization going on. This is one reason to want to suppress turmoil, if you can, is because it slows down all your construction in the affected areas. Okay, I'm thinking at this point for... Well, not quite there yet, but once we start getting positive balance again, that will be coming. In fact, we're probably about point to start hoping for wars as well. What we'll do is we'll start to build up our university network so we can generate more innovation points. Protectorates, not quite at the point where we can turn any protectorates into puppets yet. We do have land border with Persia. Do we want to start something with Persia? Or do I start chipping away at their stuff? Yep, it does make sense to make a protectorate of them in one go. If we're going for make protectorate, who is likely to join on the other side? No one! Worst case scenario, we'll get Russia swayed in. So let's mobilize and jump on a vulnerable Persia. I believe I do have a... functionally have a... buildups are popping up when they don't need to. I believe we still have a far superior army to them, and I suspect we have higher troop quality as well. Okay. There we go. This Persian army... What type of battalions are you made up? Flying infantry. Yeah. Still be able to squish them from raw numbers alone. Goes our mandate. We'll get our next mandate in 5 months. If that combos with public schools, we might go the one that reduces public schooling cost and grants ahead of time reductions. So I'll mostly focus on things that I want to research and then let everything else spread to me. Using the power of being able to just build a lot of universities as the Great Qing. Yep, so just me versus them. I should have probably put in things like war operations. I'm kind of been paying a little bit more attention, not just running at speed 5. Okay, slowly pushing in over there. Let's go ahead and press these conscript buttons. Looks like we need a little bit more weight to fully crush the Persian army. In fact, actually, let's break up the second army group. And yes, we are sufficiently powerful enough that we can be running a quite severe deficit while at, or we can mobilize everything pretty much while at war and not run a deficit. And remember, once we finish puppeting Persia, they'll start paying us some subject tax, which will help us be even more in the green. There's public schools. Any other law changes I want while we have the industrialists in government? Well, it's private school. So I can look at this menu as well. Move autocracy, but I think we want to actually stay on autocracy. Move our freedom of consciousness, but we don't really want to do that. Remove our health, we'd be going on a private, and it's a little bit hard sometimes to get private to public, and I think we prefer public. There is a tech we'll get at some point that will make the church want public. Lots of people opposed, apparently, militantly opposed to no migration controls. Same thing with the right of assembly. Could try to push through, like, colonial something or other, but yeah, looks like it's not a good plan right now. Anyway, so let's reform government to a more stable government. Let's take the small brigade, do a naval landing in the rear. I think we've pulled most of the Persian forces to the front line, so this naval landing should get off without a problem. And yeah, we're definitely at the point where I either need, it's around about time to start expanding the government again. I think the universities is the way to go, so we get some of the higher tech quicker. These are here. Apparently universities are cheap. At least that's what the game's saying. Well, cheap to maintain. Maybe not cheap to build. Or twice as expensive as our liberals that work in. It's like from an unemployment standpoint. So these are going to be about 3 each. Actually, these probably make sense to just stack. So, maybe from an unemployment standpoint we can stack up, but Shaanxi's there, Beijing's got a bunch of unemployed as well. Let's build up in the capital then. So let's Put 10 in the capital. And then follow up the railroad. There we go. Let's run something like that. Take a while to build the universities, but once they're done, we'll have more innovativeness. And we'll probably stack a little bit more. We'll see where income is post-war. Probably go up to like 50 in a place, and then maybe contemplate another place. Okay, another subject. Okay, wait until the crust expansion gets down to about 10, and then we'll probably annex these guys. I suppose now that these guys are my subject, we should probably try to improve relations with them. Got that mandate. Let's go ahead and grab advanced research. So this is going to lower the bureaucracy cost of education, gives greater text spread speed. The plan in the long run is get all the way up at the end. Well, the second one has advanced ahead of time. The last one is maximum innovation investment, so we can tech a lot faster that way, as well as lowering the bureaucracy cost of having schools. Don't quite have enough yet for another batch of schools. I wonder how much of this is, well, obviously not coming in because of the diplomatic tax. So I say how much of this is coming in from more puppet. Well, they're not puppets yet, I suppose. Difference, maybe you don't pay taxes. Sure. Dispatch an embassy to you. Better life. Okay. Certainly good press for Great Britain. Going to gain some loyalists in the industrialists. Okay. Thinking of building a few more construction sectors. We do need to build this up a lot, to be honest. Something about 3k each. We're not going to pay all of that 3k, so we can probably just queue up. Obviously no more nerve. Sure, something like that. Just clicking down, move the construction queue, because what I want is basically I want to put the construction sectors just below those two lagging camps. This is kind of the problem with having 28 pages of logging camps queued up. Oops. Did I wait? Yeah. Yeah, close enough. Okay, almost where we want with the infamy. Good old crushing him with overwhelming force. Yeah, I'm actually thinking we're going to put the construction sectors ahead of the railways, because the railways are so expensive, construction-wise. And then we come for their other province. Just the country. And maybe didn't wait quite long enough to stay under 25 of me. Hopefully we'll be under 25 of anyway by the time they lose. So we generate a little bit less in radicals. There's the dielectrics. So, because we went ahead and built that university, we should be able to get a tech boost towards the technology by adopting the new tech, new PM on the universities. There we go, there's the policy department. We're also now fairly close to the innovation cap, which we will go over at some point, but for the moment we're going to focus on trying to get things, specific things done. Yep, no, conquer them a little too fast. Of course, we inherited all the trade routes, which we don't need or want. Oh, we inherited someone else's ones. At least there's iron there. Should stop building Casimir, obviously. Well, stop building more construction sectors in Casimir. So what's the current ratio we're working on? About 50-50. Okay, so we're doing about half the construction. That's... Well, as things improve, that's one of the reasons our net revenue is going up. Sometimes it's because the reinvestment's going up. Sure. %. We have an obligation. Pass the obligation on. That gets up 92%. Oh, they're not quite... We'll give them a bit. Wait until they get to cordial. Yeah, okay. Oh, I should have memorized what the GDP was at the beginning of the episode. I think the GDP's been going up. It hasn't been going up as fast as I'd like, but a lot of the early GDP growth is actually PMs turning on. So things like the water tube boiler here should actually cause the GDP to go up. As we swap over all the... well, various government buildings to the new model. Do we have the coal for that? 168 coal. Yeah, we have the coal for that. I'm coming through because I'm remembering to swap over the PMs of the stuff we just took. $7 years for the next one. Gutai we can turn into a subject, turn above it, so we'll do that. Bone china and paper bleaching. So that's more paper. Probably not going to swap over to the bone china right away. I suspect, because it's usually the case, that... Oh, no, our china is actually real cheap. Okay. Usually China's fairly... well, it was reasonably expensive. Usually China's fairly cheap. Especially in China. Who would have guessed? Psychiatry. Theory, that's allowed our governance to be a little bigger, not quite enough to grab the next education level. It may be worth delaying our long camps a little bit longer to grab all the education levels. As it will help the spread, getting education up. Power of the Purse, Water Tube Boiler, Corporate Charter. I suppose we can pick up Structure Sector Building, Throughput, Shift Work, that sort of stuff. I suppose if I pick up nationalism, we take the 10% authority for setting more taxes. Okay, so we've got enough bureaucracy, so we can go ahead and start to adapt education too. Change on education. I don't remember it being. I remember it being 10% per level, not 12.5%. Is what it looks like. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it looks like the buff public school. Didn't realize they did that. Okay. So there's water tube boiler. Yeah. Let's go ahead and pick nationalism. Let's spread. Do some messing stuff. Okay, government building, or not government buildings, buildings. Mines, all the mines to the new engine type. We're China, so we're not going to do anything labor saving, but we'll run the new engine types on the mines, which should up all the mine output. It looks like it's given us a bunch more construction capacity, so I should probably build up the construction sector some more. Where have I invested? So, Shaanxi, yeah, that makes sense to finish the construction sectors there. Beijing probably makes sense. Yunnan probably makes sense. Yeah, we'll just run those three. Apparently we're already at the point where we need more infrastructure in Beijing and Shaanxi. And then we'll get all these construction sectors built. Well, we'll get the construction sectors built and then we'll build the railways. Okay, looking at the time, I should go ahead and probably put in a part break. We'll go ahead and put the part break in when we're done with these construction sectors. Yeah, so there goes the Beijing ones in. They'll take a little while to spool up to provide their full construction points, but construction points are good construction points at this point. There's construction sectors in. That did push the net balance below 100 again, so that's probably where we wanted the balance to be. We're probably starting to reach the point where we probably want to start raising wages on the government stuff again. So there's the military backup. I wonder, okay, we get into the tax in, so we'll do that. Might be part of the way? Yeah, okay. Sin wants to have an embassy for us. Cool. Improve relations with them? I'm not sure if it's been 5 years. It has been. these guys in? It has been, okay. Welcome to the market. Probably at the point where we're going to start another war. Kokan. Let's invade these guys. Other than taking for Russian territory, they aren't blocking anything, so let's just make them a protectorate. One of the reasons we sort of stretched out here was to get border with people, so we can invade them. That's the fleet, not the army. Darn misclick. We'll see if the Russians join in. I don't think the Russians will join in. In fact, the Russians would come to our side. Okay. That's not what I was expecting. In fact, with the Russians willing... Oh, okay. Yeah. If the Russians were willing, we'd actually probably want to bring them to our side, so they can't join the other side. Before I forget, let's go ahead and demand war operations and ban slavery. And then make war operations a primary. So if they back down, we won't take the slavery. It's perfectly fine. Oh, we can definitely see the growth of our economy. I've mobilized the army. And what happens? The budget goes up, not down. Yeah, that's a thing, apparently. Yep, the budget's back in the green again, so that's just showing you the strength of the economy. We're now at the point where I'm going to have to start actively trying to build stuff to keep the debt from going away. Because we don't necessarily want to be debt-free. We just don't want... We didn't want the amount of debt we had. We were like 100 million debt. There we go, another subject. Welcome to the bowl. So we can actually move in on more. Yeah. Yeah, we're probably going to start thinking about building more construction sectors to support the ever-growing economy. Wood is cheap, but we kind of want wood to be cheap. As long as it's still filling up with workers, wood being cheap is fine. This is not interesting. We're also got an anti-Spain league. Why would we agree to that? Some of the event stuff is not always the brightest in the shed. Next part, if I remember, we'll probably try to save up some political power to making infamy space to make Siam a protectorate. And there we go, another subject. Another subject means more authority, more income, more market to share across. And we're back up to standard wages, which is good to see. We can get another tax applied for the moment. Do I want a 200 tax, 300 tax, or tax? So 300 would have to be 35,000, which none exist to be worth it. 200 would have to be 200 plus for it to be worth it. So we're going to go ahead and grab the tobacco. One tobacco tax, please. Oh, and we don't want to leave the government wages there, so we'll leave our wages back to normal. And that's one reason we want to probably protect Siam to help protect them against British finagling. And with the Trumple music here, I think this is probably where I should actually go ahead and pause and put a part break in. So we're still building more wood. The GDP is starting to go up faster and faster rates. We're going to want to have to build more universities so we can get more innovation, so we get more innovation spread. I need to build more government administration so we can expand our education system and law enforcement system. But that will be in the next part. So if you're watching on YouTube, this is being recorded as I have time to record it, so do not expect there to be a part up tomorrow. There may be a part up tomorrow. But there may also not be a part up tomorrow, depends on if I have time. This is not currently in the normal 5-day cycle, so it's not being streamed every 5 days or for 5 parts or whatever. If you're watching Twitch, feel free to hang around. I'm going to quickly double check to see what the plan is with the family. I suspect the recording session may end here. So with that, wish you all the best of luck and a good time. Catch you all in the next part, and bye for now.